To say yes is an evil. To say no is another evil. The yes evil means we are going to have a constitution which is not perfect, not as good as we thought, with many issues which should be thrashed out. To say no means we go back to Lancaster House Constitution and may take another 20 years to have a new constitution. Yes or no, which is the lesser of the two evils? The choice is yours. In the Kikuyu country, we shall invite all those who are vying to be presidents to come and tell us what they are going to do for us. And those Kikuyus who want to become president, they should also go all over the country and tell other tribes. But if you anoint one person to be your president, it means you have stopped others who are vying not to vie. And for us who fought for second liberation, it was a very painful day. That the things that we had fought for so sacrificially seem to have crept back to the life of the people of Kenya. And so yesterday was one of the darkest days I can recall since the second liberation. A call to approach the next elections as nationalists, not as tribalists.
And we want to thank God for having given us the late Archbishop Gitari, who has put the map of Kirinyaga at the high, both nationally and internationally.
In Dr. Gitari's death, Kenya has lost a person we can truly describe as a man, a preacher, and a fighter for all seasons.
Nilipomwambia nataka kuenda siasa, he asked me, whatever, we can change this country without going into politics. Let us accept the word of God can bring the change.
I've had a lot of moments and times with the late Archbishop, and to answer your question on the issue of social justice, is that he was at the vanguard on issues of social issues, human rights, issues of the constitution, issues of gender sensitivity. For example, he was one of the leaders who advocated for the ordination of women in the Anglican Communion, which had not been done before. He advocated for development in the churches, not only going to church, but let's use churches to uplift us. That's why if you've listened, they have been talking about very many, the ACCs and whatever. Those were organs he started so as to be able to run many issues, computer classes, farming, we can have the church, yes, I mean the Bible and whatever, but we also need this church to help us grow as a people. That was one of his greatest successes we can talk about. When we come to social justice, his fight for the constitution, I'm sure you're well aware of it. He started fighting all these issues from around 1975. That's the first time he really came to be known. When JM died is when he started the issue of when people talk about stones being too heavy to be lifted. He said that stones are becoming too heavy to be lifted. The government says that we shall lift, no stone shall be left unturned. Then he says later on, no stones have been lifted from the death of JM, from the death of Owuko. He championed so and advocated when people could not talk. At one time, he appeared to be the only opposition to government, if you understand what I'm saying, because he would say he's the one who could stand and say, no, this is wrong. He stood in 1998 and talked about, in 1988 of Mulolo, he talked about it when nobody else talked about it. And that's when now he ended up being chased and wanted to be killed at his home where we are going in the fathers. So he really did a lot. when the church, I can give you the most recent, in 2010, when the church was not sure which direction to take with the constitution, he's the one who stood up at All Saints Cathedral and said, we shall say yes. This document may have mistakes, it may have blunders, it may have what, but we just accept it and we shall amend it as we go along, because it is a good document. So basically, he was in every facet of Kenyan issues. He was everything he had a comment about. You can ask me where he did not have any comment. Maybe it's only the Westgate, because now he was already ailing in hospital. But every issue he managed to grapple with, and we can say he walked the path that was less walked. He did not walk on the trodden path. He felt he needs to say this, I'm going to say it. And he actually said it, and wow, his legacy, yes, yes, the Bill of Rights. He did. That was one of the things that he said. That was one of the beautiful things of this document. It gives us so many rights, which even you, freedom of press, freedom of association, all those freedoms are all enshrined in chapter 6, and that's why he felt that he felt that we need to accept this document. The only thing I can say about that is that, and that is the beauty about when you eulogize, and with time as in the annals of history, is that, remember, he comes from Kirinyaga. Kirinyaga was a fully Jubilee zone, but he was the only supporter of Raila, and he felt he needed to support Raila because of his fight for the constitution. He did not speak ill about the president in any way. He did not, but he just felt that's what he felt, and he did not feel shy to say it, that the president may need and the vice president need first to sort out their issues. Not, and I want you to get this correct, not fighting them or anything. He just felt, you sort out your things, then maybe we can now then see. He never spoke any ill, he didn't say any. So that was, it's just him being Gitari. Just him being Gitari. Because he talked about Exodus. Exodus, I think chapter 18. He talks about how people, how the kind of leaders we need. So if he feels that you're wanting under the chapter of Exodus, then there's a problem.
When those accusations are hanging around, I think it will be a big mistake for us to be electing people who might be declared to be guilty of those things. And they are not guilty until they are proved guilty. But the fact that they are suspect, in other words, they have a case to answer, let them answer that case. Even if the elections come before judgment is passed, there is still 2017. When they are killed, we can still think about them in 2017. The question of who becomes the next president is becoming tribalized. Personally, if you asked me what is my tribe, I will tell you, I don't know. My father was a Mukamba and my mother a Kikuyu. So the answer I can give is I am a Kenyan. I think for us to think only we, the Kikuyus, can rule this country is a big mistake. And we in the Anglican Church, we are doing better, because during the last election, the Kikuyu said we had Manasseh, a Kikuyu, as Archbishop, Gitari, a Kikuyu, as a bishop, or a Kenyan. And let's get another one from another place, showing what Bukala and Zimbi. And I hope that even today Kikuyu can say, well, we have had Kenyatta and Moi Kibaki, why not we try someone else from somewhere else? But if it is a Kikuyu is the best, fine. But it is not only Kikuyus who can give leadership.
Well, let's begin with the future of Kenya without him, and to say he has left a legacy. That's important. He's planted the seeds. You know, without him, It's no exaggeration in the recent times to say that this constitution, the new constitution, stood in great danger of being rejected. And now, without going back to the second liberation, where some of us worked very closely with him, when we got the new constitution in 2010, the truth is that the church was on the north side, including the Anglican church, including all the major churches and evangelicals. And Gitari was the first one to come out, talk very strongly, very powerfully in favor of the new constitution. I had meetings with him, with other people. A few of us thought that it was necessary to adopt strategies to change the attitude of the people in central Kenya, because you cannot underestimate the influence of the church. In central Kenya, the Anglican Church, the PCA, Catholics, the evangelicals, we are all on the north side. So we had private meetings, in fact in the house of Matere Kereri, Bishop Gitari, Honorable Keraito, and Honorable Murangaro. And we spoke to him, and he got convinced. And he became the convener of Lemuru One, where we invited leaders from around central Kenya, from Rift Valley. And that, to me, was a turning point. That was a game changer. But the one lesson that I think Kenyans should emulate is a courage to say the truth. Even if the whole country has got the opposite view, stand and say the truth. And that is, I think, the quality I admired in him, is a quality I shared with him. He was not a person to go with the wind or to go with the mood. You know, these debates that go on, which is a dangerous culture we are adopting as a people of Kenya. That watu wamedecide that without being rude, sheep mentality, what has been decided. And yet in the back of your mind, you know this decision isn't right. Gitari had the courage always to come out and say, this is wrong. That's why he went out of his way and asked people to vote for the new constitution. He was an intellectual giant. He sat me down, we went through the draft constitution, each of those articles that the Christians were complaining about, abortion, same-sex marriage and that sort of thing. And I took him through it. Once he was convinced, then he had the courage. The Christians were being discussed. Yeah. So Gitari lives because of his ideals. And if they are emulated, I think any of us would love to go the way he did. I saw him the week before he died and stayed with him chatting for about 45 minutes in his ward. And the thing is, he didn't want to talk about his health at all. He wanted to talk about the country. He was very engaging intellectually, you know, debates. And so those are the issues that he wanted to debate, and he didn't want to talk about his health. The implementation of the constitution, the ICC, these are issues that we're engaging in. And it's me who wanted to go. I kept telling him, Archbishop, now you need to rest. And he was refusing me to leave his room. He just wanted us to go discussing. You know, he had a great intellect, yes. But what he has left behind is what we should emulate. See, Archbishop Gitari always spoke his mind. And I think even the last time that he spoke, he was speaking his mind. So the best thing is for each one of us to look at what he said, listen to what he said, and have our own interpretation.
My grandfather, a great, loving, and caring person I was blessed to have, and I came to love very much.
I'll never forget your voice. And if you're listening, I wish to say, I love you.
Kuka, I loved you very, very much. Thank you for loving me.
Since Gitari retired, I've been visiting him not every month, but I don't know any 3 months which has lasted without me going to see him.
I have known Bishop Gitari for many years. He married me in 1976. He was a student of my father. My father pointed him out to have been a bishop, and we ran into a personal relationship with him. You will remember some of us were very vibrant during the multipartism as we were fighting for this other liberation. And he was a great motivator to us as we were young men. We sought a lot of refuge. We sought a lot of guidance from him, and he gave us a lot of inspirations. So for us, in this liberation, we actually are, Gitari is synonymous with what we are. And hence, it's one man who's died not too rich a man. He did not get his wealth from stealing. It's maybe what his own children and what God has graced him with. He fought for justice. He did not love corruption. That is said at every forum that I remember, I've seen Bishop Gitari. And therefore, for us, Gitari was a great man. Let me end up this way. Finally, when we needed Gitari to come and unveil the crosses of my parents, it was Gitari we went to. Therefore, to me, Gitari is my elder brother. I can never say anything negative about Gitari. I walked the distance with him. He made me what I am politically in terms of able to take a position that I still hold, that I don't shift. Since the entire church was here, nobody was left behind. And various requests, and they've had the kind of testimonies that people have gone, and they should have that as a resolve. They meet in their synods. They should be able to sit and see what is it that we can pick up from Bishop Gitari and continue on with it from there. And we have able leadership in Wabkala. I'm sure they should be able to do so.
Okay, first of all, when I was a kid, he had not yet begun to, he did not have a very high profile. At that time, he was the chairman of the Bible Society of Kenya while I was growing up, just when I was young. And so that time, my father was okay. We were, he was busy doing the business of selling Bibles, and we were quite a very close-knit family. After he became the bishop of the Diocese of Mount Kenya East, that is when things changed. He began to get a very national and international itinerary. The demands of everybody was a lot. So he became, it was like he was adopted by the church. And just for lack of a better term, the children became orphans. What I mean is he was very busy. He became very busy for us, too busy, so that we did not see him as a father for some time. But after his retirement, he tried to redress these wrongs. We could see it in his eyes, his desire for us to be close to him, his need for his family, which tells me that family, no matter what, is more important than anything else. My plea to the government and is this. My dad died before. It was a commission report. President Daniel Moi formed a commission that was supposed to look into the attack where 40 to 50 goons were sent, and we have heard from subsequent people who have just talked to us that the plan was to kill my father because of his political, what he was doing, causing ruffling feathers. If there was rigging, especially in the Q voting, he would be there to make noise. So that report has never been made public. That is from 1989. That is April. That is many years ago. When Moi retired in 2002 and Kibaki came, Kibaki never made it public. That is until 2013. He was a president from 2002 until 2013. So we are asking the current government if, because this was the desire of our father, he has always spoken about that report. He has died before it has been made public. He died in September. That is his birth month. Can they make that report public as a birthday gift so that he can die in peace? I mean, he can go in peace. Because this is something that he kept talking about everywhere. There is this report. And so, if I would urge the government, if they can, just to honor the late Archbishop, let them make this report public. The shoes my father wore were his size, fitted to his size. What he did in addressing injustice was a special call. It was a special. He had that special call to address injustice. Actually, what he would do is just simply look at scripture and see where the injustice is and align the scripture through Bible exposition to what was happening. That was his gift. And I believe that he has spiritual sons and spiritual daughters. I do not know whether that is my calling or that is the area of my calling. Because I indeed have joined the ministry. But what I am working in slums among the people who are downtrodden, and that is where God has placed me. So I do not know whether this is an extension, but I do know that where I am working towards the good of those people who are in need.
I first heard him in a sermon he preached in early 75 after JM had been murdered, and it was at Nairobi Baptist Church, a church I was to be pastor for 14 years opposite Gong Road, and I never had anything so powerful and so brave, not from a Kenyan. I mean, it was a powerful sermon. I still remember the atmosphere as we left. But you could tell this was a man set to change frontiers. Unless he was going to change, and he never changed. I mean, 40 years later, David never changed. So I mean, once that was at Kenyatta. So of course, then Moi came in and he began getting very authoritarian, queue voting, which we opposed, and then multipartyism he was resisting. We pushed for it. We ended up in Ufungamano. I used to chair Ufungamano. He was one of my very loyal members. We just wanted a new constitution. So he had what you'd call a very developed social conscience. He had a deep empathy for the poor and for the vulnerable and the marginalized. And they're just people like that, and that's who they are. They are moved by the marginalized. They see, and it's like on last Sunday we went to a Catholic church in Kajiado, and there was a song that was sung that was very powerful. In the song it says, "Nimemwona Mungu." So I was asking, you saw God? Where? How did you see God? And then the song says, I met a prisoner, so I met God. I met a widow, I met God. I met an orphan, I met God. I met a stranger, I met God. So they are just people who, when they see the poor, the marginalized, it just moves them completely. They see God. And when you have that kind of a theological framework, you are unstoppable.